20 years later. Yes, 20. A lot happens in 20 years. One day you're a Nitro girl in WCW, and the next you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
With a
Woohoo.
Kickstarter campaign. That's a different type of kicking from dance steps to business moves.
It
Thank you,
is.
Chae. Nitro Girl Chae. Tell us about the Kickstarter program and what you got going on right now. And then we'll get into other things about the Nitro Girls and WCW.
Okay, so I came up with an idea for bag organizer long time ago, even before mommyhood. All this traveling, as you know, we were all over the country and the world. And with girls, I mean, it's keeping our things organized is pretty important, right? So we don't want to leave anything behind. But so I really couldn't find any good organizers. And when mommyhood came, I mean, it was like, okay, I got to do something because nothing that I had was helping me keep things organized. Because as you know, as a parent, as a mom, you're like a walking drugstore. You know, at any point, your kid could drop dead from starvation to bleeding excessively if you don't have that one little Barney Band-Aid, right? So I actually created my own. I made my own out of necessity, and it was just kind of one of those things like, oh my gosh, this really works. And I used it for years, my homemade ones. And then I thought, I really should bring this to life to help others too. And but I was busy with raising three kids, and then I finally got a chance to just bring it to life because I got a utility patent on it back in February. I'm an inventor. Can you believe it? 20 years later. But so I wanted to try Kickstarter because it's a really great way to raise that to help raise for the money for that initial production cost, and also it's great for marketing, which turned out great because it's kind of gotten me out of like my little like a domestic shell in back into you guys to not only share my new endeavor but also same time just reminisce about the old days. So right now I've had 2 weeks out of about 4 weeks of the campaign. I am about little over 50% there, not quite of meeting my goal. So I'm just humbly asking for support. Any support, there's no such thing as too small. So, yeah, so I'm hoping that you guys could help me reach my goal and bring along to life, and it's my dream right now. It's like my passion. So,
You found something passionate to be passionate about.
yes.
Back in the day, you were passionate about dancing and you were able to perform with the Nitro Girls. So I'm wondering, how has it been in those 20 years from getting from there, now getting to this project? Because even 10, 15 years ago, did you ever think that you would be an entrepreneur?
I did not, but it's just there's my lifetime. I think I've been getting ready my lifetime for entrepreneurship because, I've been always been a part of a group, whether it's cheerleading for the Falcons or with Nitro, and after Nitro, the girls and I we tried the music industry too. So anything on my own, I just really wasn't sure I could do or even wanted to do. But I think what happened was just everything that I've achieved in my life, I didn't get there without taking a risk and going for it. So I think that spirit definitely is one of the foundation of entrepreneurship. It's just going for it and taking a chance. So I feel like it's been I've had a good preparation, and Nitro being one of them really helped me get myself ready to just take that big risk and jump in the next venture.
Chae, you've were a big part of WCW. The Nitro Girls were a big part of that. And now that you ventured on and mentioned you have a family now and you're a businesswoman, I'm curious, did you read any business books online or watch anything or start to investigate anything or take a class even, I don't know, to
Right.
just prepare for business type of endeavors?
So I call myself jack of all trades because luckily these days there's so much resources out there just on the internet alone. Like Google or even YouTube. I mean, let me tell you, I changed a water flusher in my toilet just from watching YouTube and saved us $200. There's, I mean, I call it, it's like a YouTube college, right? There's nothing that you can't learn how to teach yourself to do. So yes, I really educated myself, but I'm still learning. And even with Kickstarter, the last 2 weeks, I think I learned getting my feet really be immersed in the process Kickstarter. I think I learned more the last 2 weeks than I did preparing for it for months before. Because I think nothing really teaches you better than the experience itself.
Chae, you mentioned the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm curious, are you a Falcons fan?
Well, I've been in Dallas for 10 years. And you just can't go wrong with them, with the Cowboys, just because it's the America team, right? So, it's a house divided because my husband is a big Cowboys fan. It's I still have fond memories with Atlanta, and I used to live in Atlanta. So yes, so it's tough when they're both playing, but when it's just the Falcons playing other teams, I'm for the Falcons, and with Cowboys, most definitely for the Cowboys. Now, when they're playing each other, that's another story.
What's interesting with the Falcons, because when you were a cheerleader on the team at that time, and I didn't do any history or looking back at it, so I didn't know. Was the team good during the time you were there, or were they struggling?
Well, let me tell you, my first year with Nycho was 96, and no, I'm sorry, first season with Falcons was 96. So when I started traveling with Nitro, I was also the Falcons cheerleader for the following year, and it was pretty apparent from the beginning that it just there's so much conflict in scheduling between the Falcons and Nitro. So I decided to, leave Falcons behind and focus on Nitro. And that's the year that Falcons came to Miami for
the Super Bowl.
Yes. So that probably answers your question, right?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, I know, and I still see. I mean, the pictures of the girls. I mean, that's better than going to Pro Bowl as a cheerleader, right? It's going to Super Bowl. I mean, what's better than that?
Oh, and in Miami too. Oh.
In your backyard.
Well, Chae, love to know about the Nitro Girls and just you're getting involvement in it. And even going back in the day, how did you even hear about it? Now, I know WCW based in Atlanta,
Yes.
and since you were a cheerleader for the Falcons,
yes.
Maybe that had some ties going. But what was your start with the Nitro Girls?
So, so as you know, in Atlanta, the kind of a side, like a headquarter for talent, not the corporate headquarter, but talent headquarter was the main event, the gym that Sting and Lex Luger owned at the time. And a lot of people worked out there, including Kim and Paige, Kimberly and DDP. And when Kim was given the project to start the Nitro Girls, she naturally kind of looked around to see who within the gym knew a lot about dancing and had connections. So one of the girls that was working out at the time was AC Jazz, and she also cheered for the Falcons. So what AC told Kim was, hey, I still have connection with the Falcons. Let me, reach out to the cheerleaders and put, audition for you, solely just the Falcons cheerleaders. So that's how I found out about it. But at the time, I have to say, I didn't know anything about Nitro. I mean, I knew Hulk Hogan because of my grandpa, but I didn't know anything about Nitro. And it was just, what we were told was there's an audition for a dance team for a TV show, and there'll be a lot of traveling involved. So we're like, being young and unattached, we're like, let's go for it. So that's how I ended up at the audition.
What was it like then when you realized what you were involved in? Because it was just so crazy. Pro wrestling is so crazy.
No. Let me tell you. So even after making the team, right? I didn't really know what it was, and I didn't really go out of my way to say, okay, let me check this out on a Monday night. It didn't even register. So I used to live in Savannah before I moved to Atlanta. So I went back to Savannah. My parents were there, and I was visiting some friends. And there was two friends that were dating, and one was a manager at this sports bar, like one of the big sports bars in Savannah. So I was visiting them, we're leaving, and they're like, oh, so what are you up to? And I said, oh, I tried out for this dance team for some show on a Monday night. I don't know, it's like Nitro or something. My friend's boyfriend's eyes got that big, and he was like, Monday Night Nitro? I said, yeah, something like that. And he just about fell over because that was his biggest night of the week. And it's been for years, for a couple of years. And he said, but his reaction said it all. And when he just fell over in the middle of the parking lot, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm onto something. But and even until then, because we practiced, weekly, and we prepare for it for several months, and it wasn't until we went to Orlando for that bash at the beach in July, and that was the pay-per-view right before we debuted in Orlando on the following Monday. Even so, then we didn't know until the hotel. I mean, here we are like little ducklings following Kimberly around, and the hotel scene was there were so many people calling her name out, and there were so many fans all around the hotel, inside the lobby, at the bar, at the restaurant. That was probably next to my friend's boyfriend's, big round eyes are almost passing out. That was probably a big indication that, you know what, I think I'm about to have a time of my life, right?
It's like a rock star lifestyle with the travel and with the fans, especially.
Yes.
You go to those shows and there's thousands of people.
They're so passionate. They really
wow,
are.
they
They're
get
the
so
best
into
fans.
it. What
Yes.
was it like for you navigating with the fans then after all that happened? Because when you're an Atlanta Falcons cheerleader, it's much different interaction with fans. Usually you do your cheers and then more or less it's separate from everything. But when you're with Nycho and WCW, it's like 24/7 and you're traveling so much. Fans are everywhere.
It really is. And not to mention the platform is completely different. We were, I mean, even though at the time the Falcons, we had our team calendar, and we were somewhat of, we were recognizable within the city. But with Nitro being syndicated and as popular as it was, even at airports, and one time, so we debuted in July, and a couple of the Nitro Girls and I, we went to Hawaii for Pro Bowl in February, and we're riding around in a Jeep, open Jeep, and this car full of, boys kind of pulled up next to us and said, are you guys the Nitro Girls? And we were like, what? And this is in Hawaii, right? I mean, like, you gotta be on a plane for 8 hours. So it was just, I mean, it's still something it's just something that we never took for granted. Yeah.
Well, how much did you enjoy that time? And you were extremely busy, sure, but how much did you enjoy the time? And what was it like, even with the audition process?
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel confident with the other people there auditioning that you had a chance to be a part of this team, or you were, I don't know what's going to happen?
Because by the time, I've done, through the years of just kind of being in, because, I played some sports and I cheered and, and tryout, I wasn't a stranger to the whole tryout concept, right? And I think in a way, I'm glad I didn't know what I was trying out for, right? The ignorance is bliss. Because if I knew what I was getting into, because I mean, just like, as you know, after we started Nitro Girls, we held auditions. We had Nitro Girl Search, where we went to different cities and we held auditions. Now I feel bad for those girls because they knew exactly what they were getting into, right? And if the situation was different, if I was auditioning at that time, knowing what I knew, I think I would have been way more nervous because it's kind of one of those like you got nothing to lose. You don't know what you're about to lose if you don't get it. So therefore, you really, you just kind of enjoyed it, enjoyed the process without really being nervous about it.
Were there any cities or even countries that you enjoyed traveling to?
A few, well, many, but I have to say, Australia has to be my favorite because we went actually right after their 2000 Olympics. So there was just so much energy still there within the cities. That was great. And I have to say that when we were in England and in between shows, we stopped at this one hotel. And we soon found out later somehow that the hotel was haunted. So those kind of things, it's just, I mean, even if you couldn't be living the best time of your life, even like throwing something in there of like going to some place like Australia or, going to a haunted hotel in the middle of England. So yes, there's just so many great memories.
Did you stay at that hotel?
We did.
Did you sleep that night?
But you know what's really interesting is I was very nervous, and some of the girls, they shared with us some of the experiences they had. But what's strange is they experienced this before they found out that the hotel was haunted. It's just something strange, happened, and it's just kind of one of those. Oh, that's kind of weird. And then after that, so it's one thing if we were told that the hotel is haunted, and then you know how our mind kind of works. We start to see things and hear things that's really kind of you over empathize.
You already put it in your head. Exactly.
Yes. So we were definitely nervous about it. And I remember coming back to my room and getting ready to go to sleep. And I didn't want to close my eyes, right? But you have to wash your face. And when you wash your face, you have to close your eyes. But it was really weird. Let me tell you, James, like there's some calm feeling came over me. It was like something telling me we're good people. We're not bad. We're good spirits or something like that. And after that, I closed my eyes and I wasn't nervous at all after that. And I slept like a baby. And I think we actually stayed in that hotel maybe 2 nights. Yeah.
Well, Chae, now if you look on TV, you see all these supernatural
Yes.
and all these ghost shows that are just everywhere. And I'm curious if you ever watched, because you mentioned the ghosts, if you ever watched any of those shows on there, and also and what things do the supernatural and what things do you like to watch on TV these days or streaming?
Okay, well, it's these days, especially with trying to balance, and by the way, there's no like perfect formula in balancing work and business, and I have to hand it to all the single parents out there who has to juggle both, or even parents who work, right? But when I do have time, I've always gravitated toward more of a documentary, true story things, not so much movies. My husband's a big movie buff, just kind of mindless kind of a thing. But for me, I like things that I can learn something from or something that is interesting, out of ordinary. But so like,
are you watching PBS? Are you watching PBS?
Oh no.
I was thinking maybe the PBS channel, because they have a lot of documentaries on there, but they also have a documentary channel. But what was I talked over you. What was the program that you watch?
No. Things like Supernatural, or even, Netflix, or even all the streaming which is really nice because you don't have to, to schedule yourself to be in front of the TV, and they have it all separated for you in different genres of shows. So I always go for the documentary.
Well, with the family life and the kids, are you watching Disney Channel as well?
Oh my goodness. Our youngest is 8, so we're finally coming out of, Bubble Guppies and, Umi Zoomies. But, those were, what, looking back, those were some really good innocent times. And for the parents out there, enjoy every phase, because so small people, small problems. Bigger people getting to be little bigger problems. So when the problem's really small with the small people, yes, it's kind of Everything is just same thing over and over again, but really enjoy the innocence of that time.
Chae, when you were a Nitro Girl in WCW, did you ever have any interest in trying pro wrestling?
You know, I did not. I just knew it was, you know, one thing about us, we as Nitro Girls, as a group, we knew our place within the industry, right? There were some amazing, you know, male and female athletes, and we kind of knew that we were always like the garnish on the side, and we weren't the main dish. You know, if you could, you know, if I could explain it that way. So as far as wanting to do what they wanted to do, I so respected not just the industry, but every one of those athletes and everything that goes into what they do, that it just wasn't something that I really wanted to, in a way, cross over into.
Like a football game too, where the football team is the main attraction, but the cheerleaders are also part of the show, part of the entertainment.
Right. And never I thought, you know, I could maybe, you know, go and, you know, play Zeke Elliott.
Hey, with your fighting spirit, you can give him a battle. You can probably put him down.
Hey, you know what? Growing up with two older brothers, like I can, you know, yes, I can keep up for a while.
Chae, where did you grow up, and what sports and activities were you involved in?
Okay, so I was 11 when my family and I came to the States. And I have two older brothers, and my parents were in their mid-30s. They wanted a better life for my brothers and I. So they just took the biggest risk, biggest chance of their lives, and brought my family and I, you know, over. And none of us knew how to speak any English, and my parents barely had some jingles in their pockets. And it really is this really is the land of opportunity, and we just had our sight on the American dreams. And you know, we lived in Michigan, and my dad, to get around to work, I mean, his first form of transportation was a bicycle, rain, snow, or shine, even in Michigan. And my parents worked in multiple blue collar jobs, worked on weekends. I worked at like a flea market selling little 99-cent accessories with my parents. That's how I spent my weekends. So a couple of years of just learning English. I walked around. At the time, you don't have smartphones, right? The phones were still attached to the walls. So I carried around a dictionary about that thick. One side was Korean English, and the other side was English Korean. And I just kind of, for 2 years, just learned English, translating back and forth. And but once I got into seventh grade, once I started to speak a little better, you know what, I took my parents' spirit, and I said, you know what, I'm not gonna let one opportunity pass me by. So I want to start trying out for sports, which is kind of not, you know, 'cause typically Asians go for the academics, maybe because, you know, but I was more physical, and I gravitated more towards something physical like athletics. And I'd never played any sports growing up, because that's not, at the time, especially, you know, if we have extra time, you study. You don't play sports in Korea at all. So what I knew was what I learned in gym classes. And I tried out for basketball, I tried for volleyball, and I made the teams. I was never really good enough to be a starter, which is fine. I played in fifth quarters. As you know, fifth quarters don't exist except for people like me. And I, one time, I even like went out for school hoop shot contest, and I actually won. I actually won among the girls. And from there, I went to district, and I won district hoop shot, just like dribble, 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 and shoot, right? And then I even went to regional, and I didn't place at regionals, but like so that's kind of like what I did. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for anything and everything. And in seventh grade, I tried out for the eighth grade cheerleading squad, and I was one new person. I only knocked out, like, you know, I knocked out one previous person. So from there, high school, from cheerleading, I switched to dancing, and then I danced in college, and while visiting my friend in Atlanta, I came across like a prep clinic for Falcons tryout. So I thought, hey, why not? Another opportunity. So let's check it out. And I went for the clinic, and then I eventually tried out and then made the team. So really, my life just has been about just, hey, if you don't try, you just don't know, and it's just every opportunity is only yours to lose. So that's kind of, that's what I feel like part of this business process is too. I'm just not gonna take no for an answer, and if the Kickstarter doesn't succeed, guess what? I'm just gonna keep going forward.
That's an amazing story, and it really is a testament to, like you said before, the American dream.
Yes.
And that spirit. And I'm curious what your family thought. Well, first of all, I want to ask this, because Korea, in China, because you mentioned your dad riding the bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
In China, there are a lot of people riding bicycles more than cars. And I'm wondering, in Korea, was it the same thing where there were a lot more people riding bicycles in Korea rather than cars?
No, Korea wasn't like that. There just wasn't enough. Korea is so much smaller, and especially Seoul. It's like such a dense area, and and the streets aren't like, it's not bicycle friendly, and so it wasn't there. It's not the same at all as it is in Korea, as it is in China.
And then what did your family think when all of a sudden they could see their sister or their daughter on primetime television on Monday nights and all, and it's like,
You know what? I obviously, it's just, especially for Asian. I mean, like the career path I took was just very unconventional, And my brothers, one was like studying law, the other one was an engineer, and then here I am. I'm like, my parents, you want to do what? But what's nice thing about my parents is they really didn't. They let me express my individuality, aside from the cultural expectation.
And that was very important. And you would know better than anyone. Was that also different from the Korean culture?
Oh,
or no?
gosh. Yes, most definitely. I mean, would my mom have wanted me to be dressed in a suit and walking into a big high rise? I mean, a big, tall building with a briefcase? Yes, of course. But I think, you know what? I don't know. It would be interesting for me to ask my parents how I was as a child. I'm sure they had to have seen something in me from early on to think, okay, you know what? Yeah, she's free spirit. So we need to, like, the more we fight, the more we hold her back. It's like she's just going to want to, go even more. Yeah.
It made you the person you are and able to be an entrepreneur now and a
Yes.
businesswoman. And
Yes.
we'll wrap it up. A few more questions. We'll wrap this up. And thank you so much for this time today.
Thank
This
you
has
so
been
much.
really a treat, a pleasure to talk. I'm curious, do you keep in touch? And it's the age-old question when you speak to some. Do you keep in touch with any of the other Nitro Girls?
Of course. They're my sisters. I mean, you don't understand. They're my sisters. They're my mothers. They're my husbands. I mean, like, it's just all lumped in one, because you think about it, there was a time where we spent more time with each other than we did with our family members, and we did with our, like, boyfriends or even spouses. And what's so nice, and I say this all the time, is in life you have friends and family, right? And people are in your life by choice or by chance. And either one, you always have choice to walk away. Like, if you guys kind of don't see eye to eye, if you can't really learn to respect the differences and accept each other, you have a choice to walk away from it, in the relationship or in the friendship, or even, you do it even with family. But with Nycho, what happened was we were together so much, and we didn't have a choice but to, figure it out. And for us, if we didn't want to be around, then that means that you had to leave the industry that you grew so much to love. You grew to love so much. So it's kind of one of those rare occasions in which we need to do more often, is that we really need to try our best to respect each other for our differences and not in this different views, even different style of communicating. Like Vanessa, we call her bottom line Bozeman. Her last name is Bozeman, but she's an accountant by trade. And so she's very logical. She's black and white. And whereas Melissa, she loves to, sprinkle her conversation and her talk with flowers and sprinkles. And she just, Vanessa is like, bottom line, I just want to know, cliff note, what. So those kind of things, even though, she may not communicate the way that you communicate, like you respect her for that. And you expect her to pretty much just give me two options, get rid of all the fluff. I want to clearly see what I'm seeing, So yes, we may not communicate as often as we like, but we respect that we're very busy on our own. Like Vanessa, she's like a high executive, with a finance company, and Terry Fire is running a university, and Charmel, she's, what she's doing with Booker. So we're very respectful of each other's busy times, but we're always there. Whenever something good happens, we're there. Like when Vanessa got married, we were there. When something bad happens, we're right there. And I think that's really what true, really friendship is about.
Well, did you get any of the Nitro Girls to join in the Kickstarter program?
Yes, of course. Some of it. Well, but here's the thing with Kickstarter, I probably didn't educate myself too well. Like Kickstarter, I really wanted to share it with the world, and I really wanted the world's support. And I just, and I know my friends. Yes, it's good that my friends and family are supporting, but at the same time, yes, they'll always support me no matter what I do. But I really wanted to showcase this to, just to share it with the rest of the country, and get their support too. So yes.
Okay, we'll wrap this up with a few questions, but we'll get quick answers from you.
Yeah.
You mentioned college.
Yes.
Where did you attend college, and did you end up getting your degree? And if so, what was it in?
It was a small. So my parents moved to Savannah somewhere before my senior year, and because they wanted to start up a business, and at the time they still couldn't communicate English very well, so I had to go with them. So we went to Savannah, and because of their business, I couldn't leave, for many years. So I went to a small college. At the time it was called Armstrong State College, and it's just regular, business degree. It's just something very simple.
That's good though, business degree.
Yes.
But you end up being involved in business. That's awesome.
But then again, I really don't remember past yesterday. So I don't know if I've actually implicated anything that I learned even before Nitro.
You never know. You never know. Something may pop in or something.
Right.
Well, you know what? You mentioned Armstrong, and that clicked in my head because there used to be Armstrongs part of WCW. I don't know if there was Brad Armstrong and the brothers were wrestlers, the Armstrong brothers and all like that and all. So I think that's funny. But leading to that part of it, what are your thoughts of any of the WCW wrestlers? Did you have any friends in the wrestling side of it other than the Nitro Girls? And did you have even a favorite wrestler that when they came out to perform, you were like, or compete, I should say compete. We were like, oh, wow, really good.
No, so we were all friends. It's really funny because, it's kind of like when we first all came, and boys will be boys, you know what I mean? So of course it's kind of, they definitely noticed us, but what you end up doing is when you spend a lot of time together, especially on the road, where you support each other. So as you know, a lot of the boys' contracts didn't include rent-a-cars or hotels. And then we had rent-a-cars and we individually had room each. So what we would do is because we wanted to be together anyway, so we would stay together in rooms and we would give some of our rooms to the boys. So we immediately created a very solid relationship and friendship with the guys, and they really initially, you know, of course, they're all kind of poked to see which one would give, but at the end, they kind of became our big brothers. Because as you know, on the road, it can be not only lonely, but it can be very, you know, it's not safe sometimes going through those small cities. So it was like it was a great you know, it was, they really took a great care of us. And I have to say, and of course, I mean, if you're talking about the energy and who your favorite and who you loved watching, I mean, you gotta say NWO, right? NWO, and I have to say, Wolfpack and Outsiders. I mean, it's just, gosh, I mean, that's just the music, and it's just kind of, you know, it's, you just can't, right? Like, even you're, like, we're all just, you hear the
Because
music even
you're
now.
saying that, and I'm listening in my head to the NWO music.
Yes, right,
That whole entrance is so
right.
cool.
And like, to me, nothing takes you back like the music. You could close your eyes and hear that music, and you're right there. Doesn't matter if it's 20 years, 30 years, like, you're just right back on that stage, and you hear that movie just echoing through the arena.
Did you ever want to do anything more with dance or get involved in music?
Well, you know, after, it's kind of like, so when we were ended abruptly, right? March of 2001. So we were approached by a producer, because we're in Atlanta. And because at the time, the Spice Girls were kind of just slowing down. Right. And then there were so many boy bands. So it was only logical for us to just, you know, just try it. And so I have to say, some of the girls had amazing. They could stand on their own, singers, except for me. I'll be the first one to admit, I just like to be about, you know, but they did a really good job of making it look like we all contributed vocally in a way, but really, I didn't. But
You
but
were Milli Vanilli. You were lip syncing.
hey, you know, if they can do it, you know what I mean? Because
Why
I mean,
not?
think about it. If both people did it, and there was only two, that can definitely hide me out of five.
Yes.
So we tried it, and also too, because we weren't ready to let go of each other. I mean, it would have been like, it's like Velcro's been stuck for so long. It's like trying to get that old sticker off the wall, right? And we didn't want to let each other go. So
Who were the five, Chae? Who were the five?
so it was Charmel, right? Melissa, Spice, Terry, Fire, myself, and Vanessa, Tigress. Yes. And then after a couple of years, we thought, you know what? I think it's time that we, in a way, it's like, if you love it, set it free, kind of a thing. So we decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and let each other go with each other's blessings. And that's when everybody kind of, and Melissa, I mean, everybody on their own right are just so successful. I'm so proud to, you know, with every one of them.
It's so great to hear the stories and hear how everyone's doing, and
Yeah,
everyone's doing well, which is a
doing
very
amazing,
great thing to
amazing.
hear as
It
well.
is,
Now,
especially this time, you know, especially with the news with Daphne. And it's, you know, it's just sometimes I feel like maybe the industry has some kind of a curse. I don't know, but it's nice to just kind of focus on just, you know, on the good stories, success stories.
well, you mentioned Daphne and
Right.
the industry itself. I'll say this, Chae, and what I've learned over the years too, it's like rock and roll. It's like any type of entertainment. When you're on the road like that, good things happen, bad things happen. It's
Right.
just the bad things get a little more magnified, unfortunately, than the
Right.
good
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
And those things happen, but it's sad. But there's so many issues out there as well,
The
mentally
re-
and physically, but we're learning more, which is good at
we
least.
are. And then here's the thing: what people need to understand is, yes, we know about Daphne because of, you know, because of who she was, and because, you know, she was, you know, in limelight. but there's so many that we don't know, that we don't hear about, that's happening on a daily basis. So it's not just Daphne, but it the awareness, because right now is suicide prevention week until this Saturday. And it's just so important that we be kind to others. And because you don't know what kind of battle they're fighting. But I also feel as important, if not a little bit more, is be kind to yourself, right? We are our own worst critic. And I'm even as I'm going through this, there's so many dialogues that goes through my mind, right? And I have to say some good, but a lot of it that I have to really consciously fight the negative ones to put aside. So be kind to yourself foremost, and that's because you got to feel good about yourself, so your kindness can flow out to others.
Well, Chae, another thing is too, because it was announced that WWE superstar The Miz is going to be on ABC's Dancing with the Stars.
Oh,
and
wow.
Chris Jericho, who was in WCW, was in Dancing with the Stars several years ago.
Such a character. He was perfect for it.
That's what I was gonna. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Hey, when you've ever seen Dance with the Stars, did you ever think, oh, I wish I could be on there. I wish I could do that, or no?
Of course. I mean, what Stacy rocked it. Oh my gosh. I mean,
I forgot about that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Did she come in second or win it? I mean, she did really well, Stacy Keibler. That's
my
right.
gosh. I mean,
she did really well in it.
Yes, yes. I mean, is she not only amazing dancer, she is so good to look at, as you know, with those legs, and it's messy. I mean, like really with everything, her talent and just the way who she is, not just outside but inside, and it's just mesmerizing to watch her perform.
Another show on ABC that I want to mention before I let you go is Shark Tank.
And do you know anybody? Does anybody know? Does anybody know any sharks? That is, yes, Shark Tank. Hello. But they want to have some sales. But I'm like, well, IP, I have intellectual property. Like, do you see that? Like, utility patent it's bigger than, I mean, USPTO wouldn't have granted me that fancy, and I should have brought it to show you that my little patent certificate. Hey, somebody call me, please. Do you know someone, James? I'm kidding. Yeah.
I just know that what we'll do is we'll get the word out, and I'll do a little at Shark Tank
Yes.
on the tweet when the story posts. So at least we'll try to get it there. And they're
You
all
never
on.
know. Like
they're all
I said,
on
if you don't
Twitter,
try,
too.
what?
They're all on Twitter, so we could always try to just share the story and do that as well, because you have such an interesting background. Because of course it's for entrepreneurs and business, and you are one, but you have that background. Hey, how about this? DDP was on Shark Tank.
You know what? A good friend of mine, Ross Foreman, he connected me to DDP, and I had to talk with him, and he was amazing. And he gave me such an amazing advice, and it's advice that it's not that I was looking for a quick connection or fix, which I kind of was, but at the same time, I'm not surprised that DDP gave kind of advice that he did, which is that I can stand on my own, and I know I can, right? He says, with the utility patent, with IP, you don't really need a shark. You can do it. Might take a little longer, but you can do anything, which I really appreciate coming from DDP. So yes, DDP gave me a really wise advice, and I really appreciated it.
And it's so cool because you started with Kimberly, who was the leader of the Nitro Girls in WCW.
Yes.
And through the connections there, you make other connections, and all of a sudden you're talking to DDP about business and what he did with DDP Yoga and Shark Tank on ABC and all this, that you're able to do that. And hopefully we'll see you on Shark Tank one day. And if not, still we'll hope that you're going to be successful with it. And tell us the name of the product, because I believe it's called Ring Along.
It is
and
Ring
also
Along.
Ring Along, and how you came up with the name for that product, and where people can go for the Kickstarter campaign.
Okay, so the Ring Along came up with a product. Is if you look at the product, it kind of, it's self-explanatory. So it's just a bunch of little pouches with a small spring ring on the corner. It's a ring, and it's got a hinge spring, so you can press it down and unclick it from the larger, what I call host ring, because the host ring holds all the bags in one place. And that host ring, since it's hinged, you can wrap it around the top of your tote bag so it doesn't all sink to the bottom of the bags. So it's very easily retrieved and you can put it back. And each pouch also has another spring ring on the other corner where you can take any of the storage bags with you separately by strapping on a bag strap. So you only take, because girls carry big bags, and you don't have to always take the whole bag with you everywhere you go. You just take what you need and leave what you don't behind. And so right now it's on Kickstarter, and I don't know if you have the link for it. I can give it to you. But if you go to Kickstarter, just just search Ring Along. And I call it Ring Along because you're bringing ring along.
That is so good. And you're going to get this whole thing going, and you're working on it. So hopefully people can check it out and see, maybe they want to be a part of the Kickstarter program, which would be really good and all. So
yeah, it would
we'll
help me. Yes. Another American dream box checked.
Okay, so lastly, what could be a good question? I don't know about good question, but something lastly. We have to go back to the Nitro Girls and WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do it this way. Who was the funniest Nitro Girl? Silliest.
Oh, AC Jazz. AC Jazz. Oh my gosh. She just had the funniest. She would mix up words. We were talking about something about the movie Portuguese, and she was calling it Portuguese, and we were like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "The movie Portuguese," and then we were talking about how you're not supposed to fraternize with the wrestlers, and she would call it franchise. You can't franchise with the wrestlers. We're like, were you starting a business with the wrestler? What do you mean franchise? So we called it Amyism. Just funny words. Oh, and then Terry, fire. She had the best sense of humor. Even now, 20 years later, when we get together, I walk away with sore stomach, after spending a day with her, just from laughing. So between Amy and Terry, AC Jazz and Fire, they could be walking like reality shows. I'm telling you, it would be a huge hit.
That is just so great.
Yes.
Well, Chae, thank you so much for spending some time. And I wanted to just make sure that NWO again, because you mentioned the NWO. I actually have a Dallas Cowboys hat, but I didn't know that your husband was a Dallas Cowboys fan. I would have had that one too, and I would have switched.
Let me tell you, you can't go wrong with Dallas Cowboy hats. Doesn't matter who you're talking with. It's the America's team.
I love hats. I have so many. I have too many. I'm a hoarder of hats, by the way.
Is that 20 plus, like 25-year vintage hat, or is it something that you got recently?
No, this is something I got a long time ago.
Right,
no, you know what though? I believe though I didn't get this with WCW.
Okay.
I think this was actually when WWF, before they changed the name, when the NWO went there for a little while.
Yeah.
That's where I think then I got the hat with that when they were out and all. But I've got so many sports teams and pro wrestling and all when I go to like WrestleManias or Super Bowls.
James, when you're passionate, you got to surround yourself with it. You got to wear it from head to toe, even right down to socks.
Well, Chae, thank you so much. Do you have social media for fans, or no, that's not something you do, or even a website?
So website is ring-along.com. And then for social media, I have Instagram. I'm late to getting started. So if you guys can just come on and help, funny story about Instagram. So I'm seeing all these little blue signs next to people's names. I'm like, I don't know, what does that mean? Because I have like 30 posts. I'm very late to this whole Instagram game. I'm like, I guess I should like verify my identity too. I didn't realize they're like, what? You're blip in the, I mean, like I think I have like 300 followers right now. So hopefully after this I have many more. But I didn't realize that it just they really don't. No, your identity is fine, even if it's not you at that number. It's fine. But it is at Chae_Marsh, and my product is at Ring Along. So at Chae_Marsh, like marshmallow. My husband always says marshmallow, but Chae_Marsh and at Ring Along.
What are these Instagram people thinking? It's Chae, one of the Nitro Girls.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Chae.
Thank you so much, James.